And our conversation this morning with Bob Walk brought to you by A&A Construction, by Delaney and Fritz PC, and by Sanso's Italian Deli. Mr. Walk is on the line with us this morning, as a matter of fact, from Bradenton, Florida. Or are you in Clearwater, Bob?
I'm in Bradenton. Joe's going to pick me up here at 10 o'clock, and then we're going to drive up there. We get there at 11 for a 1 o'clock game, spring training. We figure that's about right. Nothing really much to do. We go down and, to the dugout and make sure nothing's happened overnight that we need to know about, and then we go back upstairs and do the game. So I still got some time.
Yeah, you get the rhythms of spring training. When you take those little short road trips for spring training games, is there one place or another that you enjoy going to a little bit more?
Yeah, well, Clearwater's not bad. It's a beautiful ballpark. It's not a bad drive. It used to be a little bit of a tough drive up there because they didn't have any, really highways. You were just going, stoplight to stoplight up 19. And that wasn't a lot of fun. But since they built some highways, it's a fairly easy drive to get up there. Great ballpark. Philly people are always so kind. Great organization. Love being around them and everything. So that's one of the places I like to go. I'm not a big fan of going to Tampa. The Yankees, that booth that they have, it's a real modern, nice ballpark, but the booth is horrendous. I hate doing games from there. You can't see hardly anything. Mm-hmm. So there are some favorites and some places that I don't like. I used to hate going up to Orlando, although the ballpark up there at Disney World was nice. There's nothing wrong with that, but that drive was just everybody just hated that. And thank goodness we don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, I imagine once you get into spring training baseball and you get back to those familiar places, it's always good to get back to Bradenton because that's where you're based.
Oh, it's a beautiful it's a destination for people that come down here to the spring training games. Everybody wants to go and check out the old ballpark, in Bradenton.
Mm-hmm.
This year is the 100th year. They've been playing spring training games in that ballpark. Now, ballpark has been rebuilt a couple of times. It obviously is not the same, little wooden structure that it was 100 years ago, but it's still right there in that same spot and still playing games.
Yeah.
I think it's by far the oldest one in spring training. In fact, I think it's the third oldest that's still holding Major League Baseball games.
Wow.
I think Fenway and Wrigley are the only two older stadiums that still have major leaguers playing baseball in it, at least for for a month.
How about that? Hey, let's look at the ball club today. I want to talk about a couple of the position things that are going on right now. Backup infielders, outfielders, utility players. The Pirates just got a guy from Texas the other day. They've got Connor Joe and a bunch of fellas competing for a lot of spots. So when you've got veterans coming in, competing with those young guys and all of the different dynamics that are involved, I imagine you get to this point of spring training and somebody's looking to get hot with the bat to maybe impress somebody, if not in your organization, in some others.
Yeah, you know what? It's a little bit like, putting together you ever tried to do a Rubik's Cube where you do one thing and it affects something else that you didn't know it was going to affect? And that's kind of how like putting together the backup, the bench is, right now for the Pirates,
mm-hmm.
because the guys that are in the running, they all do, different things. And you have to have somebody that can do something in the middle of the infield. Like, okay, if somebody gets hurt, can this guy play shortstop? Maybe he can play, first and third and go in the outfield, maybe even catch. But, shortstop's a little different animal. But the way I think about that is like, well, if somebody gets hurt in a game, you can always figure out somebody to finish the game at shortstop. Heck, you can move Key Brian Hayes over there. He's a great shortstop.
Yeah.
Put somebody at third. And then if you need somebody for, more than a game, well, then you call somebody up from AAA that's been playing in the middle infield the whole year. But that's kind of what I mean is that everything affects everything else. So you got to kind of look at all the other positions and say, okay, what if this happens and this guy's going to? It's not just like what utility player had the best batting average in March, and that's the guy we're going to go with. There's a lot of other things. So for me, because of that reason, not being able to read their minds as far as the people that are making the decisions, it's hard to predict because I don't know exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah.
It might be something different than what I'm thinking, so or anybody else. So it's hard. Owings, keep your eye on him.
Yeah.
I think he brings a lot to the table. I wouldn't mind seeing him on the team. And he can play shortstop. He can play anywhere. He's got a lot of major league experience. So that would be, if I had to give you a name that I think could fill that role and fill it very well, that would be probably who I would say. But you got young guys that, maybe you have them marked down to make the team, and you want them to do that. So
sure. And while
who knows?
G1 base. So.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: if G1 Bay's not playing every day, do you want him sitting on the bench?
Yeah.
Or do you want him to go down and have him as that guy that if somebody gets hurt and you need somebody for a longer than just a game or two, you can call him up and put him out there every day.
Yeah, you do want him.
So,
you want him.
The player doesn't want to hear that. The player doesn't want to think. I mean, he would rather go sitting on the bench in the big leagues and going down to AAA and playing every day. But that's not in the best interest of the team sometimes, and it's even not in the best interest long term for the player.
Yeah. A backup catcher is also an interesting thing. Heineman, did you see his magic trick yesterday with Kutch and Rich Hill? That was cool. There's a video the Pirates put up on their site today of he's great with a card trick. Man, Heineman is really good. But when you think back to your days pitching with the Pirates, I mean, you had guys like Volyer and Don Slott and fellas like that. Backup catcher is a pretty important position. Pirates proved that last year, didn't they?
Well, yeah, we've had several years where all of a sudden we're like, well, we have no catching depth. So that's always something you have to be concerned with. What's going to happen in a catching situation. Long term, I think our catchers. Now this is just my opinion. From what I've seen of this youngster coming through the minor leagues, long term, our catcher is wearing number 25. So I'm like, now he won't make the team. Rodriguez ain't going to make the team. I guess he could, but there's no way. Indy's got to go back to Indy.
Yeah,
and that's now if he gets called up in June because he's ripping it apart the first couple of months and down in Indy, and then I can see that happening, but. That's and the reason I'm talking about him right now is he certainly is part of that catching depth that you're going to have. If there's a problem where you need an everyday catcher, and it's June 1st, he might be the guy that now is your catching depth, and he'll jump right over the backup catcher and go into the everyday job. Plawecki, he caught yesterday's game. Veteran guy, tons of experience. He's not bad with the bat. I think he can add a little something offensively, which we haven't done from that catching spot for quite a while. I would say, my guess is he would probably have the advantage right now for that backup job. He's got a lot of big league experience.
Yeah. Then you look at Henry Davis down there as well as somebody that the Pirates certainly have high hopes for. Catching long term, you're right, is going to be something that we hope is pretty stable for the Pirates. It's just getting to the point, and it might take a while. Bob, thanks for joining us this morning. I appreciate it. Appreciate the whole week with you.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot of fun, and, I guess you're going to get either Joe or Wayner.
I got the Rock next week.
Oh, the Rock's coming up. Okay, well, he's the best of the bunch, I think, when it comes to knowing what's going on and he's the guy I go to when I'm curious about something. I say, "What do you think about this?" So you're going to be in good hands.
He'll break down a batting stance for me. Bob, thanks so much.
Yeah, he'll do that.
Have a great day today.
All right, take care.
There's Bob Walk. The Pirates actually on the air with us this afternoon against the Phillies in Clearwater, and Bob will be there with Joe. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, 101.1 FM, AM 1160. Our conversation with Bob Walk and our Pirates broadcasters brought to you by our good friends at Sanso's Italian Deli, at A&A Construction, and at, it disappeared from my screen.